WESN.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and start your wellness journey today.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really want
to me. Respond to me. How you would respond to me?
The first question I'll ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
WESN.
Good morning and welcome to AM Prime on WESN. I'm Naomi McNish. So this morning we turn our attention to pancreatic cancer, as November is Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. as well as tomorrow, November 20th, will be World Pancreatic Cancer Day. So joining me this morning is Dr. Fawaz Mohammed. I tried this word so many times, a hepatopancreatobiliary surgeon, to help us understand why pancreatic cancer is so aggressive, exactly what it is, and how we can detect it early and treat this disease. Good morning, Dr. Mohammed. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, to give us just an idea for somebody hearing about pancreatic cancer for the first time, how would you explain exactly what it is in simple terms, what it does to the body?
Right. So the pancreas is an organ. Most of us know that the pancreas produces insulin. So we know the link between insulin and diabetes.
Yeah.
So it's an organ just sits behind the stomach in the upper abdomen. And it produces other enzymes to help it digest your food as well. And when these cells start mutating, like any other cancers, there's a growth within the, normally within the lining of the pancreatic duct. And this leads to uncontrolled growth in the tumor itself, and eventually leads to pancreatic cancer.
Okay, so basically the pancreas stops working the way it's supposed to work, and therefore, so what are you would have mentioned, so you mentioned something, PDAC, which is the most common form of pancreatic cancer. Can you break that down for us and just explain what makes it, or what makes this one so aggressive or particularly aggressive compared to others?
So PDAC is pancreatic ductal adenocarcinoma, which is a big term used in literature just for the simple thing to say that is pancreatic cancer.
Right.
It originates as a pathological term, so when you look under the microscope, you see certain type of cells. And this originates from the duct lining of the pancreas.
Okay.
So you have the pancreatic parenchyma, and then everything drains into the duct and comes into the first part of the small bowel. And that helps you digest your food.
Right.
So it's a lining that we refer to. It's so aggressive, the aggressive nature of it. Again, we're not too sure why it's so aggressive, but when in comparison to all the other cancers, usually the overall survival rate for pancreatic cancer at 5 years is about 40 to 50%.
Wow. Wow.
So it's pretty grim.
Yes.
However, early detection and early intervention actually increases that and gives you a better outcome.
Right. Is pancreatic cancer something that can go unnoticed very easily? Why is that?
So it's because of where the location of the pancreas is. So it sits behind the stomach, not within the top of the abdomen.
Right.
And it only starts to produce signs and symptoms when it compresses other structures around, usually the bile duct.
Okay.
That's when patients come in with the yellowing eyes, jaundice, change in urine, dark urine, pale stools, and then we know something is obviously up. If the tumor is small and not compressing any of these structures and not causing any pain, obviously, then we have a big problem in detecting it.
Right.
And unfortunately, at least a third of patients present late.
Yeah.
Where there's metastatic disease and we're unable to do much at that point.
Right. So in terms of early detection, what are some of the signs or symptoms that persons can look out for to go get screened?
So general feeling unwell, upper abdominal discomfort, weight loss, some non-specific abdominal symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, change in bowel habits. All these things should indicate that there's something wrong. And if it's not resolved within a week, go get tested, go get reviewed by a general practitioner,
right.
and then move forward with it.
How accessible is getting screened for pancreatic cancer?
So unfortunately, there's no official screening test for pancreatic cancer. And that's because a few things. One, there's where the pancreas sits. For us to image the pancreas, we need to have a CT scan or MRI, which is more invasive than a simple mammogram, which is used for breast. And it's also more expensive compared to a mammogram we use for breast as well. And certain blood tests that we use to monitor cancer levels with respect to the pancreas is not used as a screening. So it's actually elevated in any time pancreas is inflamed. So you could have non-cancerous causes to cause pancreatic inflammation. So that's the dilemma that we face with pancreatic cancer. It's difficult to find a screening test after all these years.
Okay. So if someone wants to go get tested or figure out whether or not they have something going on in their pancreas, what is the best route that they should take?
So I think the first thing is obviously going to a general practitioner, doing some routine bloods, new onset diabetes or increasing severity of the diabetes. Actually is one of the signs that you may have pancreatic cancer as well in recent data. And first sort of imaging test you would do is an abdominal ultrasound.
So that was actually, I wanted to ask about that, if there's a link between diabetes and pancreatic cancer, in that, is it more susceptible to persons with diabetes to get pancreatic cancer?
So there's no direct link. However, there are cells within the pancreas that produces the insulin. And if these cells turn cancerous as well, certain tumors such as an insulinoma would be cancerous. So there's no direct link. However, if the diabetes that you have for 20 years has increased and unable to control, or new onset diabetes in a very young person, we have to rule out whether this is a cause, the tumor is a cause for the diabetes and new onset diabetes.
Would that affect somebody who, let's say a person is diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, they also have diabetes, would that affect their, how quickly they recover or their treatment, and does it vary?
So diabetes affects a lot of different organs in the body. It does affect recovery after surgery. However, if the diabetes is controlled with insulin or medication pre-op or even intra-op and post-op, it should not delay or affect the outcome too adversely.
All right, let's get into like lifestyle, because I think lifestyle plays a big part when we speak about health and, whether it's your diet, how active you are. Are there things that we do in our daily lives that would affect or increase the chances of you getting pancreatic cancer?
So the usual culprit, such as smoking history, increases the risk. Chronic alcohol use leads to chronic pancreatic inflammation or pancreatitis, which eventually over years could actually lead to pancreatic cancer. General, healthy lifestyle is obviously a key role in preventing many diseases. A balanced diet, exercise, healthy overall lifestyle choices. There's obviously a link between these and in preventing your chance of developing other cancers. So it's a win-win situation, but the only direct link that we know is obviously smoking history and also a chronic alcohol use.
Wow, okay. When you say chronic alcohol use, this is years and years of consistent drinking. Okay. How equipped are we in Trinidad and Tobago to deal with pancreatic cancer when it comes to diagnosis, testing, and treatment options?
So we're actually pretty good compared to, we're a lower resource setting at the end of the day. We have everything available in the public and the private sector, from imaging, CT scans, MRIs, and moving on to surgical intervention. We're well equipped with trained personnel in most of the main public hospitals. And then post-op chemotherapy is available at the National Radiotherapy Oncology Center.
Right. Could you break down the major treatment options for pancreatic cancer?
So usually, when patients present with pancreatic cancer, we say that they present a third where we can resect, a third where we can't resect, meaning it's already spread, and then a third in the middle where borderline resectable. Now, those that we can't resect, that means that it's spread. The option that we have for these patients are usually a biopsy where we confirm pancreatic cancer, and then we send them to the oncologist where they have chemotherapy. Those patients that we can resect or is resectable disease, we offer them surgery up front, right? Which is usually a Whipple's or pancreatic or duodenectomy, a big word for one of the, probably biggest operations that we do in the tummy. Right. And then they go on after to the chemotherapy.
Right. When you mentioned the Whipple procedures, I remember when I was reading the article, I saw there were some advances in terms of AI and robotics, various technologies. How is that impacting the pancreatic scene in Trinidad?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, we presently don't have a robot in Trinidad. We have been doing Whipples in some in some public and private institutions laparoscopically. Dr. Yadish Singh does a lot in South. He has the biggest series presently. Other than that, we have done all our procedures open and with good successful outcome, comparable to a first world high volume center. So, I mean, despite not having the new cutting edge technology with respect to robotics and all the other imaging, intraop imaging, 4D imaging intraop, we are doing pretty well in comparison.
Right.
We hope at some point we're going to get it, but
yeah. So until then, based on how it is now, I know you said pancreatic cancer it's aggressive. It's an aggressive thing, but the chances of recovery, you mentioned it's sort of slim, but based on what we have, is it doing enough? Is enough being done?
So, I mean, there's always more room for awareness.
Yeah.
Promoting pancreatic cancer month should be out in the forefront, just like our breast cancer month, Yeah. However, the incidence in comparison to breast cancer is obviously a bit low.
Yes.
All right. In a 2018 study by the WHO, our incidence here is 3.2% of new cancers per year. So it's still low.
Yeah.
But there's still room to do a lot more to gain awareness.
Yeah.
And that's why when we hope that this particular month, but we also compete with November for prostate cancer awareness as well.
I think diabetes.
Yeah. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, patients, despite being so grim with respect to the data, you do see a lot of successful outcomes.
Yeah.
Especially from patients you just didn't think were going to make it.
Yeah.
And they give you the motivation to continue and, give patients hope.
Yeah.
That yes, you may have, the overall picture looks poor, but if you continue, if you do the required treatment, surgical and chemotherapy, your overall survival, you can live.
Follow the science.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also I think because November is such a packed month and we have to acknowledge all these various diseases and health complications, there are ways it can tie in together, because the diabetes with the pancreatic cancer, you can use it hand in hand to push awareness. And then, the prostate cancer, well, now I'm hearing about that. But I think prostate cancer is also something just similar to the pancreatic cancer. It doesn't go, you don't hear about it often enough. Yeah. I think I only know one person in my entire life that ever got prostate cancer, sorry. But if there is a misconception about pancreatic cancer that you can debunk right now, what would that be?
Probably the major misconception is that, it's a morbid disease without any form of treatment. No, we do have treatment options, and very successful treatment options. And if those are sought at an early stage, your outcome, you can live up to 5 years or beyond 5 years, cancer-free and a normal life.
Yeah, awesome. So before we wrap the conversation this morning, I just want to go over one last time the steps that we can take to reduce risks. I don't think we kind of touched on it, or we touched on the treatment options, but the steps you can take to reduce your risk of getting pancreatic cancer.
So, stop smoking.
Yeah.
Overall healthy lifestyle. Reduce your alcohol intake. And if there's any sort of abdominal signs and symptoms, get tested or get investigated by your private GP.
Right. Could you recommend, I don't know if this is in your scope, but what is the ideal, or I don't know how to phrase it, but what is the ideal alcohol intake that a person should have on a daily basis?
So I'm not. There's usually an amount of there's a unit, but at this point, that's not my field. Sorry.
Yeah. It was like I just wanted to throw that in there just to see if we can get something out of it, but that's okay. I think though, when it comes to alcohol, it really just everything is in moderation. Right. So if you're just saying, don't drink too much or don't drink every day, maybe a glass of something a week, or... So
the main issue with the alcohol is if we have pancreatic inflammation from the alcohol.
Yeah.
So patients could drink as much as they can or want, binge drink. And some patients don't have any pancreatitis whatsoever.
Right.
However, there's certain individuals who drink probably just a sip of alcohol, and they end up with pancreatic inflammation.
Right.
So, it's a tricky balance.
Right.
Because the pancreatic inflammation is what leads eventually to...
So what does the pancreatic inflammation look like physically?
So they usually have severe, intense upper abdominal pain,
right.
Which goes straight down to the back, to the spine, multiple episodes of vomiting, and they just look literally unwell.
Yeah.
And they usually present probably within 24 to 48 hours of drinking, binge drinking episode, or even, whatever small bit of alcohol,
right.
if they're genetically linked to lead to increased risk of developing pancreatitis.
Yeah. Well, I think that more or less gives us a clear answer, understanding for that, my previous question. Okay, so finally, what message would you leave with the public now, just in, as we close and as we think about Pancreatic Awareness Month and the day, which is tomorrow?
So pancreatic cancer, yes, it may be a morbid disease. However, I would advise that, we need to be tested early, and we need to seek early treatment in order for us to have the best possible outcome. Our public and private hospitals are well equipped to deal with pancreatic cancer. So giving your doctor a earlier presentation to deal with actually improves your chances of the overall survival.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed, for joining me in the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have more, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
If these walls could talk, they'd cry uncle. They didn't plan to become offices or yoga studios. But they've stood by us, even when we got a little stir-crazy. For that, they deserve some thanks. They deserve Benjamin Moore.
Hi, I'm Claudette, radiographer at the radiology departments at the community hospital. We offer high-quality service with state-of-the-art equipment in X-ray, ultrasound, CT, and mammogram. Come, our friendly staff awaits you.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Feeling drained? Struggling to keep up? It's time to take control of your wellness. On this episode of Wellness Unlocked, we're diving into the key nutrients your body needs for all-day energy and balance, with 100% or more of your daily essential vitamins, plus added chromium to support healthy blood sugar. This is complete wellness in a single soft gel. Join us as we uncover how small changes can make a big impact on your health. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and take the first step toward better health.
Bill and Ruth fell in love with the Benjamin Moore color Dry Sage, but they tried to match it using another brand's paint.
I mean, it's close enough.
Almost identical, really. Yeah, there it is.
Never trust another paint to be a Benjamin Moore color.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
SM Group International Limited, your solutions partner for the latest innovations, brands and competent staff to meet your needs. We provide products and services in the following divisions: executive services, event rental and services, power and heavy equipment, construction and property management, food and beverage, aggregate and sales and distribution. Check out more on our products and services at www.smgrouptt.com. Contact us at 221-7445 or email at info@smgrouptt.com. We are SM Group International, your solutions partner.
Welcome back to AM Prime this morning. So we are turning our attention and taking a closer look to the government's newly unveiled revitalization blueprint. This is a bold 10-year plan promising over 129 major development projects, thousands of jobs, and a transformation of Trinidad and Tobago into a first world nation. So joining us to break down the feasibility, investment climate, and the real opportunities within this ambitious vision is Vivek Sharan, President of the Confederation of Regional Business Owners. Good morning, Mr. Sharan. Welcome.
Good morning, Confederation of Regional Business Chambers.
Thank you for that. So one thing I want to start with, when you look at the scale of this revitalization project or plan, what stands out to you first? Is it the ambition, the opportunities, or the challenges?
No, well, what stands out first is, the vision is an amazing vision. When you look at it, you really see a modern, a modern approach, a modern city, and taking Trinidad into, into the future. But it's not a future that I would say is fantastical or unachievable, because the level of architecture and some of the vision that the government seems to be aiming for. We actually see before our very eyes in places like the Far East and so on, where you're looking at Singapore, you're looking at China, India, even places like Malaysia and so on. So, a lot of people have said that it's too fantastical. How is it going to happen? What's the point? And the idea is that for us entrepreneurs, for many of us in the SME sector and so on, all our businesses really started out with a dream, right? It started out with a vision, a dream, and some of these SMEs, our business, family business included, which is now on to its third generation, started out from very humble beginnings. So the idea of a vision is a focal point, within business, right? There's a focal point with which to aim for, and a focal point with which to start to build. And vision signifies ambition as well too. And so we were quite impressed with the ambition and the vision of the revitalization plan. If it is that Trinidad can get there, I think it would be an amazing thing.
Right. You would have mentioned, a lot of it really depends on the investor response, but how much do you think can really happen within 5 years?
I think quite a lot. I think it all depends on the investor response. I do believe that, a lot of people believe that the government is going to have to be primarily responsible for the financing of the entire thing. When we look at the revitalization plan, I think what we like about it is quite simply the fact that it's very broad and diverse. It's not concentrated in any one particular part of the country. So, you know, it's south, it's central, it's west, it's east. So there's a lot of decentralization that's happening. It's also broad in terms of what, you know, you can actually pick out what the government will decide that they're actually responsible for. Things like the building of the new jail, as it were, in Tamana, government buildings and so on, spread out across between, let's say, San Fernando, Port of Spain, Central, you know, places like that. But then there's a large amount of possible investment or opportunities in real estate development. So we see all these seafront, you know, residences that are carded to go up and so on. And that may have stemmed from the fact that since COVID, really, one of the sectors that has done that we see has done pretty well is that real estate development sector. I mean, we are in a real estate bubble, as it were, right? With the price of real estate and so on. But the real estate development sector, commercially in particular, has done particularly well because it's what we've seen, despite the economic challenges that the country has faced and many of the businesses have faced. We've seen a trust in building and delivering things like strip malls and commercial properties. We've seen buildings going up, particularly in the supermarket sector, buildings going up and expansion happening in the pharmaceutical sector. We've seen conglomerates and very large businesses building, you know, huge warehouses and so on that's happening. So the commercial real estate sector is actually doing well, and I feel that if the government perhaps has decided to tap into that and get into public-private partnerships, or perhaps simply by saying, listen, if you're interested in these opportunities, we will provide a roadmap for you, and we will clear the way for your investment.
From your perspective, then, do you think that our local private sector has the capacity or even the appetite to want to invest heavily in projects like this?
Well, the private sector on all levels, whether we're talking about large businesses or we're talking about small and medium businesses, on the private sector on large levels, on all levels, needs to consider diversification. I mean, from the SME level, we certainly have to consider diversification. Retail isn't what it used to be, in a sense, given the challenges for Forex and so on. So manufacturing, export earning potential, things like that. When we look at very large businesses in Trinidad and Tobago, conglomerates and so on, we've seen some of them already have decided to invest into tourism type industries and so on. So I believe when you look at, let's look at the Carrera project. The Carrera project, it's about decommissioning the prison. It's about turning the island into a type of resort. I mean, the vision there is, all these overwater bungalows and hotels and so on. But even before we get there, there is the sense of tours to the island prison, tropical island prison, which is, a rarity. The only other island prison that comes to mind is Alcatraz. There is the fact that we could turn it into a destination for yachties, a destination for local tourism, new beaches opening up there, beach bars, food, that sort of thing, before it even reached to the stage of, massive investment in a huge resort, resort owned by one company or whatever. Then we look at the opportunities as well too for, other types of business that the diversification, not diversification, that the vision encompasses. And I believe that, the ease of doing business is really important in terms of getting investors to want to invest in these projects. And I believe that if the government says that we will provide you with the land, or we'll provide you access to the land, we're going to clear a lot of the bureaucracy for you. There may be some concessions involved in order for you to have this, to invest in this project. Then certainly you might find that, I think larger businesses or larger investors, regionally and otherwise, may be interested. So, for example, yesterday or 2 days ago, I believe we saw the parliamentary secretary at the Ministry of Trade chatting with the Chinese, ostensibly about expansion and improvement in our industrial parks, which is critical. We've seen the Minister of Trade and the Minister of Works and Transport have gone on a Middle East sort of investor, searching for investors or looking for business opportunities and so on, presenting business opportunities to investors in the Middle East. So I do believe the government is serious. I think the government is serious for looking for foreign direct investment. And I do believe that they will pave the way, in a sense, for local investors as well to get involved.
And more or less to rework the prison island, I believe, Carrera. Yeah. There's that. And how soon do you think that can be done? Is that something that we should look into in short term or long term? Just turning that into a tourism hub. Short term,
you're quite correct. Short term, two things stand out. One of those things would be the decommissioning of the Carrera prison. Right. And immediately after the decommissioning, clearing of the prison and so on, making it safe, tours to the prison can start. Right after as well, too, the government can decide that they're going to provide leases for certain parts of the island with which people can, investors or, let's say, bars, restaurants, they can have a place similar to no man's land where there are food vendors and so on. They can turn part of the beaches into a Pigeon Point type area where an investor takes a lease and therefore builds provides facilities and so on. So that's something that can actually happen very quickly. The second thing that can happen really quickly would be the San Fernando to Mayaro Road. I mean, it can happen quickly in terms of, I believe that road has a lot of positive ancillary benefits. Yeah. When you look at a direct road from, what ostensibly for many years, despite the oil wells surrounding it, has been an area of very low commercial activity and a large amount of unskilled labor and low income. Right. Having a direct pathway from Mayaro to the other side of the island to San Fernando, where there are a lot of activities and so on. I think that, where there's a lot of commercial activity, I think it's going to improve, it's going to improve employment in the area. I think it's going to bring down the cost of, let's say, transportation in a sense for people who want to find work outside of the area. I believe that the road itself, and along the road, there could be a lot of development for small and medium businesses along the road. So, the benefits for...
Trying to, like thevendors and...
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Understood.
Gas stations along the way, mini marts, that sort of thing. I mean, we see things like that happen, for example, in Sandy Grande, along the coal mine road, which led on to the beach road, which goes through the forest. There's a considerable amount of small and medium businesses, or I would say small businesses, small mini marts, small groceries, bars and so on, that popped up along the area, even though it's quite remote.
Right. Let's look at beyond tourism when we're considering the industries or the sectors that will benefit most from the rollout of these projects that the government now has planned. Which sectors or industries do you think would benefit most?
Well, construction, obviously. I think construction, and the good thing about construction is, if the construction industry is revitalized in a sense with a lot of these projects, then obviously it's going to lead to a lot of employment opportunities, a lot of employment opportunities for different degrees of skilled labor. So when we're looking at welders, we're looking at fabricators, we're looking at all the way down to finishers like joiners, tilers. Then you're looking at masons and so on. So there's a lot of opportunity, architects as well too. So there's a lot of opportunity from, let's say, very high skilled all the way down to much lower skilled labor that the construction industry can absorb. And bringing these projects, should these projects, find investors and should they start to happen, I think it can change, it can have a positive influence on our economy in the short term once they begin.
Right. Do you see Port of Spain or, even San Fernando becoming more attractive urban hubs? Let's say if we focus on developing or building certain high-rise developments or housing.
I think so. I think you're quite correct. I think it mirrors a lot of the it mirrors a lot of the larger cities, both foreign and regionally. So, for example, you go to a place like Shanghai, and all along the the Pudong River and so on, there's a lot of hotels and high rises and that sort of thing. You go to, for example, Thailand, you see the same thing along the rivers. You go to Panama on Avenida Balboa, which is along the coast, and Costa del Este. You see a lot of high rises, a lot of, so it mirrors real estate development that happens globally when it comes to, let's say, properties along the seafront and that sort of thing. I also believe that, you see, developing commercial areas outside of the West, when we think about, for time immemorial in a sense, the life of many people has been get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, sort myself out, and take that commute into town, which is going to take me an hour, maybe more than an hour, in traffic going up there, if I don't miss the sweet spot, which is leave home at 5 or 5:30, depending on how far away I am. So you have people all the way down from Grande and so on, and even past that, all the way down from San Fernando and further down south, who have government jobs in large companies, energy sector companies, other things, have to do that commute all the way into Port of Spain. Hence, we have all this gridlock of traffic every single morning and every single evening. The idea of diversification is one that has always been explored by multiple governments, but it really hasn't been done. We've seen most of the money sunk into Port of Spain over and over again, which does not solve many of the other problems, and particularly that problem when it comes to traffic congestion and so on. And also the cost of transport into Port of Spain. So when you look at people who don't have vehicles, who don't own vehicles, when you look at people who are looking to get jobs, higher paying jobs, that want to come into an area with more commercial activities such as Port of Spain, and you see far from, all the way down from the east, and even, places past Central and so on, the cost per week of transport and getting into Port of Spain and out of Port of Spain is quite substantial. And so for many people, particularly on minimum wage or just over minimum wage, the maths do maths, because it costs them maybe $50 a day just to get there and back, and sometimes more depending on where they are. So when we look at development in areas, in all these different areas, central, south, further east, and also continued development in Port of Spain, we see the idea that there are opportunities for employment that means that the cost of accessing this employment for for people, for citizens, is much cheaper than it would before, because really and truly the only two commercial centers we have in Trinidad would be Port of Spain and San Fernando, and Port of Spain by far is the larger commercial center.
Yeah.
San Fernando was of, I would say, great, Cuba, San Fernando, Point Lisas, because of the energy sector and so on. But with the, slowdown in the energy sector that has occurred, it is less attractive as a source of employment than it was before. But that's why all these other projects not directly linked to the energy sector, I feel will have, a great, it will have hopefully a great, effect on these places.
Yeah. What do you think would make these developments sustainable rather than just white elephant projects? What are the must-haves for long-term viability if the government really wants to see
that's a very important question. So let's look at Napa and that sort of thing, right? So that was one of the first forays, I would suppose, into modern architecture. This big hall, it had facilities for, like hotel facilities in it for visiting artists and all that sort of thing. But when you look at the cost of hosting something there, $50,000 to $70,000, it doesn't really invigorate the performing arts sector, because not many of these artists can afford to put on a show there when we look at our local theater scene and so on. So when we're building things like that, we also have to understand that what is the usage going to be? What is the accessibility going to be? And who are you targeting for the accessibility? Similarly, when you look at, let's say, the large sports centers. So, for example, the aquatic stadium. The aquatic stadium is one of the better used or the more productive, I would say, buildings in the area. Because even though it's out of the way in a sense from, let's say, Port of Spain, and it's between Port of Spain and San Fernando, in Cuba, as it were. Because of the pricing of it, the accessibility, schools, very regularly hold swimming meets there and competitions and so on. So it's a well-used and well-accessible venue. And that's what we want to have. We want to have that when the government builds these things, there's a level of access to the public, where the public can use it, and sectors within the public, performing arts, sports, on different levels, large and small and whatever, can also afford to access it on varying levels. And it's not priced as the price isn't a barrier to people being able to use the facilities and so on.
Yeah. So just making it, and I agree with that. Once you ensure that the public can, I guess, have peace, participate in the outcome. I think that is one thing that would drive.
And that's key, because when we're looking at, you're 100% correct, because when we're looking at the development of the country as a whole, we want this to be shared. The people should be able to share in it, and the people should be able to access it. I mean, there are aspects of it, for example, the high-rise buildings and that sort of thing, that would not ostensibly be that way. But then on the other end, what we've seen in other countries, particularly in places like Panama and so on, that these high-rise coastal buildings and so on, apartments, turn out to be Airbnb friendly. So it means that there's the opportunity that investors into buildings like that, purchasing apartments, could rent it on Airbnb, and then we could have more people coming in. When they come in for Carnival, we actually have more capacity for Carnival within our town, past what is available in the hotels and so on. And I think that's important, because that's something that people say, I also look at Trinidad positioning itself in the midst of an energy hub. So we have Guyana that's growing. We have Suriname that's growing, very close to us. We also, we're also looking at changes that are happening in Venezuela. And if those changes that happen in Venezuela were to go along particular lines, then there is a possibility that U.S. sanctions could be lifted and Venezuela would, there'll be a political change in Venezuela that will change, the direction of the economy and also, make it more open to investment from within the Caribbean. But then when we look at the amount of resources Venezuela is sitting on, then we're also very, very close to another major energy giant. So we have Suriname, Guyana, and possibly Venezuela. And so when we put, all these countries, it's going to take a while for them to get to the level of infrastructure that Trinidad already currently enjoys. So what we want to do is we want to push the envelope. So when we look at conference center, financial centers, and we say that we are 1 hour away from Guyana, we are about 1 hour away from Venezuela by plane. Similarly, not that far away from Suriname. Then the idea is that Trinidad can host, a lot of conferences, a lot of meetings, a lot of different things by virtue of the fact of the infrastructure that we have.
Yeah. Going back a little bit, when you were speaking about the, let's say, putting these high rises and these sorts of buildings within the capital, what is your take on possible displacement of persons that already live in the capital? I mean, when we look at developing, and if we displace, then it affects the citizens, it affects the general public. But we also want to improve or better the standard of living, which will then increase, the economic look of the country itself. But how can we go about doing that without displacing the general public that already has a home? Because the average person would not be able to afford, let's say, to live in a high-rise or to own a high-rise.
Well, when we look at where these things are particularly set to happen in Port of Spain, we're looking at, I think certain areas are going to be affected, possibly sea lots, possibly where was the beat-up dump, the La Basse as it was called.
Yes.
And going further along that line, which is the, which is swampy area. But you see, we also have to understand that displacement, in a sense, is an opportunity, and it's an opportunity for citizens and individuals that have been living in a quote-unquote slum area, riddled by crime and riddled by poverty, and their situation has not changed, I would say, for generations almost, right, or for decades.
Yeah.
And displacement in this sense means that if the government is even-handed and fair, the displacement presents an opportunity. It prevents an opportunity for them to start over. It provides an opportunity for them to start over. It provides an opportunity for them to be part of a new community and form a new community, ostensibly and hopefully crime-free, without the clutch, that's not within the clutch of gangs, where people are fearing, where you're locked up at night and you're hearing gunshots ringing outside the doors and so on. And unfortunately, that's the life and the society that some people in Trinidad live in. And what this, so the cost of, advancing into the future often includes a certain level of displacement.
Yeah.
Displacement doesn't have to be bad if displacement is done on a positive, it's done as a positive, in a positive way. In other words, putting people in a better position than they were in before.
Right.
And sometimes simply removing them from the place that they were, where they are entrenched. There's an entrenched lack of facilities, an entrenched society that is controlled by criminal gangs and criminality, and putting them somewhere new where, in a sense, there's a fresh start, away from many of the limitations that they have faced, you know, for many, many years. It could be a positive thing for these communities.
As Mr. Shan, before we close, I just want to get, what do you think is that, the one thing that you believe that the government need to get right first before this blueprint would succeed, or before they start?
Well, I think the government has a two-pronged. I would, you know, I do think that they are cognizant of what it means to push the blueprint forward and for execution of the blueprint. I think that there's a two-pronged approach here, which is one, to fix, you know, to fix our economy as well as develop our economy. And whereas, you know, it's a big bite and people are saying it's a lot to do within the next 5 years, the idea is that it is the right direction to take.
Yeah.
One is that let's fix, you know, let's fix our domestic economy. Let's fix some of the issues that we've been dealing with for the past 10 years. Let's get diversification for SMEs on the table. Let's fix our earning potential when it comes to the energy sector, Forex and so on. But on the other hand, let's use the blueprint to provide opportunities, to provide investment opportunities for those that have the capital, and to induce, you know, foreign direct investment. Let's also use the blueprint as, you know, for a future where we can have more employment in the private sector on many different levels. And in the meanwhile, while these things are being built and so on, we invigorate certain sectors of the economy with which can stimulate, you know, increased employment as well too. And that's what we really want. We want full employment. We want employment on all levels, particularly on the lower economic levels, and unskilled labor and so on. And I think that in itself is going to raise the level of commercial activity in the country. And that's what, you know, and when the government sits there, I believe that that's what they have to be, that's what they're aiming for in a sense.
Right.
They're aiming for, you know, a multiple approach or multi-pronged approach to some of the issues that are affecting our economy.
Right. So do you truly believe that this is something that can change and truly transform Trinidad and Tobago in the next decade or so?
Well, I believe that aspects of it, the decommission of the prisons for one, the theme of decentralization, I certainly believe that that can change things greatly. Okay. Some of the projects I believe are very deliverable. I do believe the decommission of the Carrera prison and the development of the island is deliverable within the 5 years. I do believe that the highway from San Fernando to Mayaro is deliverable in the 5 years. And I believe that, you know, if at this early stage by next year they have investors and so on, I do believe that some of the things can actually start to begin and things can start to happen. So as it is with any vision, a vision is only as, you know, it's only ever as achievable as the drive behind the vision. So, you know, as much as the government is driving, as much as the government is providing an ease, you know, an efficiency and ease of doing business within which these projects can start, because that's, you know, on a granular level, that's often the problem. From within the government, there are cabinet notes that have to be done. There's a lot of bureaucracy just to get these projects moving. And then after that, the private sector themselves find themselves in a lot of bureaucracy and issues, and that sometimes that can take more than a year just to get it off the ground in terms of the bureaucracy and all the licenses and, you know, and that sort of thing that needs to be done to get the project off the ground.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Shan, thank you so much. We do have to wrap up the conversation, but I appreciate you joining me on the program this morning. And this is something that
Thank you.
I really hope that we see something positive come out of these projects. And I'm actually backing the Carrera Island and that Mayor Road, because I also think that those are things that can really, really help boost the tourism, boost the small, medium businesses. And just, yeah, when you look at tours and these various things, I mean, I think we have a lot of access to tours in Trinidad and Tobago, but they're not, they could be better. And
they need to be Instagrammable.
Yes. And that's what it's not currently,
right.
Unfortunately. But yeah, so I something that we can follow, and hopefully we hear more about it as it begins to unfold. So again, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye. All right, so we're going to take another break, and today is Wednesday, so that means Wild Wednesday. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Remember waking up early just to catch your favorite cartoons? WESN brings back those magical mornings with Retro Saturdays.
Thus, the Powerpuff Girls were born!
Where the young at heart relive the fun. Join us every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, only on WESN, the content capital.
This is Face of Sports, WESN content capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of this game.
not no.
Let's go to the last part.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Nah, you don't need to register nothing. You don't need. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
Money is something we all deal with, but how many of us truly understand it? What if you could make better decisions with your money? Decisions that secure your future, protect your family, and bring you peace of mind. I'm Darren Jacobs, and I'm here to help you make sense of your dollars. Welcome to Dollars and Cents, the show that breaks down the financial world in ways that matter to you. No jargon, no confusion, just real conversations about money, your money. So join me every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on WESN for Dollars and Cents.
welcome back to AM Prime this morning, and it is Wild Wednesday. You have the bumper? Okay, so joining me as always, joining me this morning is Mr. Ricardo Mead. He is joining via Zoom this morning from the El Socorro Center for Wildlife Conservation. Good morning, Mr. Mead.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Great. Good morning to all our friends, followers, and supporters out there. And the WWW, it's wonderful to be here. It's a wonderful Wednesday. Things are a little bit slow today. I don't know if our animal or guest today has anything to do with it, but coming up the highway, it's slow going, like la tortuga.
Yes,
that's what it's like.
That's expected. This week would be like that. I actually got into a lot of traffic myself heading into Port of Spain this morning, so I feel your pain.
Yeah, it's a little more extreme than what is normal. It's bad out there. It's bad. I feel sorry for the people, and I still have to continue. I had to actually turn around and come back to the Caroni, the Winston Nanan Bird Sanctuary here in Caroni.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Well, if you were stuck on that side, then yes, that's first week of school is like that. The highway was treacherous. So I would really like to know who is our guest this morning. I feel like it's a bird. But if you said, you gave us a hint, you said it was slow, so maybe...
yeah, things are really slow today.
A turtle. I asked for a turtle last time.
That's it. You ask, and you shall receive.
Yeah, but the turtle needed to be in the studio, so that means you have to bring back the turtle.
All right. Yeah, well, we have several of them to go through.
Okay.
That's the beautiful thing about Trinidad and Tobago with our biodiversity. We'll have a lot of them to go through. So our guest today is this little guy here. He is a red-footed tortoise, a baby red-footed tortoise.
Right.
He's just coming up on 2 years old. We hatched him here at the center. And he's been growing very well with his sibling. But it is one of the more common tortoise found in Trinidad and Tobago. So here's a little brain twister for people, as some people don't get sometimes. All tortoise are turtles, but not all turtles are tortoise.
Right. Right. You haven't lost me. I got you.
Right. Yeah. So some people don't get it. It's like all men are human, but not all human are men.
Yes.
Okay. So a tortoise is just one of the reptilian species of animals referred to as turtles. Turtles encompasses all of them, all the different kinds, the marine kinds, the freshwater kinds, the guy in my background there, everybody, they're all
So technically a tortoise is just a type of turtle.
Correct.
Yes.
Very good. Just a type of turtle. Turtle is the the big umbrella. Everybody falls under turtle.
Because before you said that, I was going to ask if well, I was going to say that I thought a tortoise and a turtle are two different things.
Nope, all turtles. They're all turtles, and just tortoise is just one branch. Then you have your marine turtles. You have your soft shell turtles. You have your hard shell turtles.
You have a soft shell turtle?
So there are different types of turtles. Freshwater, marine turtles, and you have your tortoise.
How
Those
many
are the three
species of
groups.
turtles can you find in Trinidad?
In Trinidad, besides our 5 marine turtles that are in our waters and the ones that come ashore to lay, we also have about 3 or 4 freshwater species of turtles and 2 species of tortoise. So this is the red leg because of the reddish color on its foot. And there's another one that gets a bit larger, that is the yellow-footed tortoise. So we have the red-footed tortoise and we have the yellow-footed tortoise.
I know there's a tortoise that gets really big. That would be the yellow-footed. That's not this one.
Well, the yellow-footed gets much bigger, but when you say really big, our species can't be included in that. The really big would be from Egypt and Africa, as well as the Galapagos. So the holder, the record holder, in terms of size and longevity, would be the Galapagos Island turtle. Those guys, you know, recorded on 189 years plus, and so on, and they are massive creatures. Our guys are really tiny compared to those. Those guys get what, 5 feet shells, and you know, really big, really strong.
Wow.
Ours are much smaller.
Yeah. Well, I would say ours are big because I guess, well, I haven't seen anything bigger than what we have here.
Yeah, the squalatas get big. Oh, there's some massive turtles out there. There's some massive turtle that we have encountered. Our turtles are closer to the gopher turtles that they have in Florida. Fairly small. You know, we usually max out at around 22, 24 inches for the yellowfoot. The redfoot, if they get a 12 or 14, that's a big turtle. The problem is they're being poached because it's not considered a game item or a food item, but people still eat them. And it started off with the French when they were here in Trinidad, and they discovered that these animals have a large liver. And they collected them, and for Easter, of all times, they would slaughter them and make a foie gras with their liver. Big dish that they liked quite a lot. You know, the French have a thing with livers. You know, they do the same thing with geese and use their liver in their foie gras and different dishes and stuff like that there. So because of that delicacy they created, a lot of people still continue this terrible tradition of slaughtering these animals and using their liver to make dishes. So these animals, I can say, are now, well, we don't usually use the term endangered, but we use it because people understand the concept of endangered. They are endangered. Their numbers are in serious decline because it's easy for anybody to just pick a turtle up and take it home. And then sometimes when they have no ill intention towards the animal, their dogs, however, sometimes have a different reaction. So we have gotten over the years many home-kept turtles that were mutilated and even killed by people's dogs.
Right. The tortoise is a species that cannot breathe in water. Is that correct?
Well, the truth is, no turtles can breathe in water. It's believed there's some gaseous exchange through their cloacal area when they're submerged, especially the temperate ones. But turtles have to raise their heads above water and breathe. They have lungs, not gills. Right? Remember, not fish. They are reptiles, so they have lungs. So they must, at some point in time, even the biggest, deepest swimming, the leatherbacks that go deep and swim far, must come to the surface and take that deep breath of air and go back down. What they can do, like many reptiles, they have the ability to have a very slow metabolism that allows them to do so much more for a longer period on that breath of air than, say, a human would. So they can stay under for a long time and even sleep under there. But at some point in time, they will come up to the surface, reach the surface with sometimes just their nostrils and their mouth, and take that breath of air, exhale, and go back down. So they're very efficient at utilizing the air which they store in their lungs. And their lungs are quite capacious, quite roomy. They hold a lot of air, so allow them to be under the green seas and so on, to be under for so long and do so much that you sometimes can even forget that they do need to come up and breathe air. However, they don't, and they do it quite rhythmically to ensure that they do well.
Yeah, but these guys, they what's the difference with a tortoise and then a marine turtle in terms of that breathing or lung capacity of staying underwater for a longer period?
Well, the larger the animal, the larger the capacity would be. The tortoise is mainly a land-dwelling creature. So since being in water is not a part of its natural behavior, they do go in water and they can submerge themselves. Their lung capacity and the ability to hold their breath would be much more limited because they just don't get into water as much as the other species that are fully aquatic. So on a fully aquatic species like the marine one, like a leatherback, like a green sea, all those other creatures would actually have tremendous staying power, lasting power underwater. These guys get their heads down, get their heads up. And most of the times when they get into water, they really don't like to be fully submerged. They would go up to literally their necks, where at any point they can just raise their head up without even really moving their body and breathe. So they understand their job, their role, their environment. So they would not have. So a tortoise like this that gets like washed out in a river, out in the ocean, and loses its ability to get to the surface will drown fairly quickly. So people need to understand that when they try to create environments for them. These guys like to walk around. They have stumpy feet like an elephant. Yeah. They will walk around and they will go into water. They love mud to just, chill and bask in and so on there. But their environment is underground, just literally walking their way all around. And that's kind of how they get away from people's homes and end up all over the place. By just literally walking around, wandering around, and just ending up in strange places. Sometimes even being struck by vehicular traffic on our roads.
Yes. What is your take on persons who have these creatures as pets? Because I know a lot of people that have tortoises for a pet.
So many people are very, very bad in this regard. Simple reason, they have no clue what it is that they're dealing with. Okay, they think, oh, they had one in the yard and it's okay. First, the perils of dogs, even the possibility of contracting diseases from cat and cat fecal matter and so on there does exist. So this is a peril that the animals have to deal with. They're not usually secured well. And then people do not understand a tortoise and turtles. A turtle and a tortoise. All right, we're going to focus on tortoise right now. A tortoise does not live in a shell. While it's called a shell, it's not a shell specifically. What it is, it's a modified, adapted rib cage. So that which you consider a shell, as you would with, say, a snail, is not the same with a tortoise. The shell that we call shell is the animal. They have feelings and nerve endings, okay, blood vessels, all of that. That is a part of the animal. So the animal cannot come out of its shell. The shell is part of it. Its rib cage comes up and creates that protection area. Mm-hmm. So anything you do to this animal is going to be felt. If you pick it up, if you scratch its back, they feel. If you rub them with a toothbrush, they will like that. They will feel that. So now, a lot of people who keep them as pets, first thing they do wrong, they paint them. And especially in the tortoise, it encourages a sort of fungal infection that now begins to rot away at the animal's body. Right? So I'm going to stop actually even calling it a shell. It starts rotting away at the animal's body. That's its body. So imagine your body, imagine your feet rotting away or your back rotting away. So that it could never be a good thing. Similarly, when dogs attack them and bite up their so-called shell, that's their body. They feel that they're in a lot of pain. And many people do not appreciate that. People don't understand how complex I like to say they're simply complex. So it's not a simple way of doing it or dealing with it. It is a lot of things to consider, especially when it comes now to diet. And most of these creatures that are with humans as pets suffer because of poor nutritional profile. The diet is usually poor. They say give them that or give them this, or I just give them lettuce. A human live on lettuce alone? You understand the nutritional profile, how much water there is in terms of compared to what the other nutritional elements that this animal needs. Mm-hmm. This animal is a forager. It moves around, it eats anything as an omnivore. From fecal matter, It does eat fecal matter. That's a main way it gets protein. Insects, bugs, different types of greens, worms, you name it. Anything that it can grab in its mouth, it will eat. So when people say, well, yeah, no problem, I will give it dog food. It's not a dog. And doing that so wrong would cause now the body to grow in unusual form, and it has a weird shell shape in it. Its body is back, it's shaped differently because of too much protein. So too little protein is bad, too much protein is bad. The proper diet is not an easy thing to come by with regards to these animals. And this is what I want people to consider before they like, oh, I'm going to get one and I'm just going to walk around the yard. No. Think about the animal's well-being. And if you cannot provide for the animal well-being the way it should, then leave it to the experts or leave them in the wild where they belong.
Because, I mean, thinking, as you just said, if someone has a tortoise just walking around the yard, then technically can't the animal survive on its own eating insects from the yard or finding anything that it can get in its mouth?
All right, so let's consider the normal typical yard on a lot of land where the house takes up most of the area. So you have an area in front where you would park your car or cars that's usually paved or semi-paved. So the possibility of lush green growth where they would be able to choose and eat from would be limited. Then when we're not actually cutting the grass in the back, we are spraying the grass in the back. Then you or your neighbor might have a dog or a cat, so that means now there will be a proliferation of blood-sucking arthropods like ticks and even fleas, but mainly ticks. A lot of times when people have these animals around their homes, all on their soft skin, remember, where their legs or their neck, by their back legs and their tail, soft skin and tissue. The ticks will attach there and start sucking their blood and breeding and creating now a serious health problem for these animals. So you have chemicals you use around your house that they're exposed to. You have your vehicle, you have you guys whacking. We've had a few got whacked already because he's in the back enjoying his little life in the grass, and the whacker guy comes, not seeing him there now, and the turtle gets half of his head literally whacked away and a leg removed because of the whacker string. You know, I've had them got messed up too, their shell with whacker blades. It's a dangerous situation. You have to provide a dedicated area for the animal and a proper nutritional profile. Most of the times when people have these animals walking around their yard, they're starving to death slowly. Fortunately for them as reptiles, they can literally slow down. But at least at a particular point in time there, when you're not getting enough food, emaciation will start to occur and they will starve to death slowly. So if you're not going to provide a dedicated safe space for the animal, first of all, and then provide the proper nutritional profile, and then provide the proper biosecurity so that fleas and ticks and other blood-sucking animals can't get to the animal, then consider just having a dog or a cat and leave these animals where they belong. It takes quite a bit to provide for them. Okay? On a normal week, a normal day, these animals get so much food from us. And then we have people like, oh, but I have lots of this and I give them lots of that. One turtle, they called him Melon because he got so much watermelon because the people who had him, they grew melons. So this turtle was getting melon all the time. All the time. That's not a proper nutritional profile. Then it had another one there, they were giving him pawpaw. Okay, soft fruit like that has a high level of potassium. And what that potassium does is actually reduces the body's ability to uptake calcium. So the animal had something called metabolic bone disease. And you hear me talk about this a lot because it's in reference to a lot of different animals get this when the nutritional profile is off.
Yeah.
If the calcium to phosphate ratio is off, the phosphate causes a breakdown of the calcium and prevents the body from bioabsorbing calcium and growing. So the bone and skeletal structure that's already there on the animal becomes soft and very malleable, becomes rubbery, and then the animal will eventually die. Just imagine you touching the turtle on its back and its shell is like a sponge ball. like a tennis ball, just kind of pressing in. That should not be. That is indicative of poor nutrition and onset of metabolic bone disease. The animal should be hard, it should be tough, it should be alert, nice bright eyes. Its shell should not be pyramided, okay? It should be fairly smooth and even. Anytime you have these things occurring, it says that we've done something wrong and we're doing something wrong by the animal. We need to change how we're doing things.
Yeah. Can you tell us maybe 2 fun facts that you think we should know about this tortoise? Not this one in particular, but just, I guess, tortoises in general.
Well, as far as vertebrae are concerned, they are considered the longest living vertebrae on Earth. It's believed that there's a 300-year-old tortoise, a Galapagos Island tortoise, so they live long. I guess that's why they have a big liver, because they're long livers, but they live for a very long time. One of our oldest, Sheldon, is probably about 25, 26 years old right now. Wow. So he's still a young man. They hit 80 to 100 quite easily. But many people will never experience that because of the poor care and because they always see the shell. The shell, you're not going to see the shell shrink, but as far as you're concerned, the turtle doing good. Look, it's the same way it was. In fact, it's looking bigger. But what's going on inside is what really, really matters. And another fun fact, yes, indeed, they are fast. Yep, they're slow, but they're fast enough to beat the rabbit.
Really?
Let's remember that.
Wow.
Okay. Well, they use their minds to actually beat the rabbit in that race. And a lot of people still haven't figured out how, and people still tell you, it have no way a turtle beating a rabbit. I said, yeah, the race isn't always for the quick, sometimes for the smart. And the turtles are smart. They're very intelligent creatures. They will recognize your voice, recognize colors, recognize, if you sing to them and stuff like that. There's some will literally pause. Some actually respond to bass lines in music, and they love to be rubbed. So they've created rubbing posts with something like scrubbing brushes on it. And the turtles will go, and you will see them literally like whining, gyrating on the scrubbing post, because that now stimulates their nerves ending, and they feel that scratching, they feel that pleasurable sense, like same way if someone is scratching your hair, you're scratching your back or something like that there. So these animals are not little armored tanks as we think they are, but they're actually quite sensitive creatures and sensible creatures that live a long time, and we must do our best to protect them. Part of our biodiversity right here in Trinidad and Tobago. And people want to know why I love this country so much. It's because of things like this. You get a chance to go out there on a walk, a stroll, a hike, and you encounter these guys. It's like, wow, what an amazing country we live in. Why don't we preserve it? But then soon after seeing these guys, what do we see? The plastic and the wrappers and the bottles and all the garbage that people put because they have no regard, no appreciation for these amazing creatures that we have right here in Trinidad and Tobago. So always, I'm going to always be here as much as I can to reach and to teach and to educate people. Love your country. Love these animals. He was a Trini before you were Trini. See that little face there? That's a Trini face.
He's adorable.
Right? A Trini face. And watch now. Red-footed, just like our national color is what? Our main color is what? Red-footed. This is a real Trini that we need to love and respect. And if you can't, just leave them alone. They deserve their place. They've been around for too long. For us silly people to come now with our selfish, inappropriate ways and create their demise. They serve a function and a place in our ecosystem.
How many eggs can a tortoise lay at one time?
Well, it depends on the size of the female. We've known them to start laying about 7, 8 years old. Some as early as 5 have been reported. But they don't do many eggs because the eggs are pretty large. It's quite an effort for them. 2, 4 for very big. 2 for normal, 4 for very big female on occasion. And they would also nest or lay on more than one occasion during the year. It is possible for them to do that. We have seen that already. But, usually get about 2. And now if you consider easily 50% mortality, it's very easy to disturb the eggs in their formative days or weeks. And once that occurs, then they would probably be dead. So it's a slow process. It's not like, it's not like the marine species that lay 80 to 100.
Yeah.
Just about 2. If you're lucky, you can get 4. So in a year, you may get 4 or 6 eggs laid from a female.
Yeah. And what are some of the things that can disrupt the egg, thereby killing the turtle inside?
In the formative stages, once you turn the egg, it will literally detach, and the budding embryo, developing embryo inside, would die.
Mm-hmm.
So movement, sometimes they're literally crushed. People have, told me we didn't know there were eggs there. They're not very good at digging holes and burying the eggs. I will admit that. They like to use the leaf litter and brush and so on, and would just sort of deposit the eggs there. Then now people trompsing through the forest, especially when you go off trail.
Mm-hmm.
You stump into a pile of leaves and you crush the eggs.
Wow.
So sometimes your group, ramming and jamming through the forest could have destroyed so much.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we encourage people to stay on the trails. Not just for the turtles, how about for your safety?
Yeah.
There may be other critters in the leaf litter. You don't want to go walking there. Stay on the established trails. The animal will not lay on the established trail, but on the side where the leaves would have probably accumulated, you could have probably laid 2 eggs, and then you're like, hey, let me go across here for a nice picture, and you jump over a little branch and you go and pose by this big tree, and you get crunched between, below your legs. It's under your foot.
Yeah,
possibly a turtle egg just got damaged just like that.
Yeah.
And now the factor is that temperature.
Mm-hmm.
Temperature has a role to do with turtles' eggs also. Right, I believe the saying is cool girls. Is it cool girls and hot boys?
Cool.
When the temperature rises in the nesting region, as what is occurring right now sort of throughout the world, so they're monitoring turtle nests, both marine and freshwater, you get more males.
Wow.
And while they're important, they're not the ones who are going to lay.
Yeah.
So when you end up with an imbalance like that now because of climate change, it further imperils our wildlife. So there's so many factors when you put together creating problems for animals and so on. People need to start to understand when you do your little part, at least you're trying to shift the balance back towards survival.
Yeah.
Because the other factors that we can't always control directly are always going to be there. So what you can do to stop destruction, stop harm, please, just do no harm. That's really the best thing.
So what is, really quickly, if you can tell us the story of this little guy. Hey, I know you said you all hatched him, or he hatched right at the center, but did you all find the egg, or was it a rescue? His mom maybe? What's his story?
Well, his dad was attacked by a dog many years ago. We've had his dad for probably 15 years now. And he had a terrible fungal infection on his shell at the bite scene with the dog. The lady called us today, she didn't know what happened. The dog just tripped off and chewed up the turtle. Of course, the turtle tried to withdraw into his shell, but he chewed up the shell and he got a lot of skin. There was a lot of blood loss. And we took care of him for a while, and he made it. And he is the father. The mother, we got some turtles surrender. People would surrender their pets when they realize, what? I need to put a kitchen garden here, or I'm going to expand my carport area, and it's not going to have a proper space for the turtles. So that the mother, a lady, had donated actually several younger ones who grew with this male, and one of those females laid. So we have a nice pen area for them where they can get access to water. They eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. They get a lot of stuff. Different stuff. They eat better than me, I tell people. Okay, these guys eat strawberries and grapes and dragon fruit, you name it. They get all sorts of fruit and vegetables and greens and a callaloo bush, so they grow and do well. And our area, we have an area when we cut grass at the center, we sort of pilot in that area because we know they like to, one, hide in there, helps them stay cool, as well as to lay. So we actually collected the eggs because we didn't want a volunteer now going in there to put more grass to step on eggs that were already there. So anytime we have any suspicion of any laying or nesting activity, we will go and seek it out and remove the eggs. And in removing the eggs, we have to keep the eggs in the same orientation that we pick them up in. So we mark the top with a marker, a little Sharpie, and we have to put them in that same orientation and place them in our incubator, which is basically a bucket of sand that's covered over with a mesh, so nothing can get to them. And if the babies hatch, they can't get out and get lost. And then you give them their 85 to 89 days, and then bingo, baby turtles, hatchlings. And these guys, like I said, they hatched, they were about 3 inches or so when they hatched, and now look at the size of that beast. He's a big guy, big as the palm of my hand, and it's gonna get really big as my forearm. Really big, really big creature.
Were you able to, but by now, can you tell the gender of that baby?
Let's see, haven't even tried. Generally you can. If it has developing, it may be they may be females or it's just not showing quite yet. But the men, the boy turtles, the male turtles, they have a sunken in or a concave stomach, right? So the area of their shell, the palstron that touches the ground is sunken in. You can almost put a fist in there. It's like that. That's the way their stomachs are. The females, on the other hand, their stomach is like this. Whoop, out, pushed out a bit there, a little bit round. It's flat to a little bit round, it's slightly protruding. They are the egg carriers. So also the curve on the male is actually designed to be able to sit on the female's back for the mating process. So that's why he needs that curve right there. All right, so he has his abs, and the chicks dig the abs, and they get busy, and then bingo, bango, eggs, fertilize, and then some more baby turtles just sort of running around in about 3 months.
Yeah.
In about 3 months, just short of 3 months. Almost the same cycle as the marine turtles. Just about 3 months, you get babies. So we're always looking out for them, looking out for the eggs. What happens sometimes in an area where you have a lot of them, they, just like what happens in Grand River, they compete for the ideal nesting spot. And when they barrel through and dig through the leaf litter and so on, they can and do have the potential to turn over and disturb eggs that were there before.
Yeah.
And when that happens, well, it depends on the stage, we might lose those eggs. So that's part of the reason why we're excited to move to our new facility. When that happens there, they're going to have a mega zone, and the larger area they have, you'll be able to cut down on the possibility of nest disturbances. What we may also do now is actually have a program where our volunteers will actively tag and monitor the turtles and actually set them out to breed. So you will put a particular female with a suitable male within an area to allow them to breed, and then keep the female possibly in that area now, so she has a better chance of having a nesting spot that's not going to be disturbed. And once we believe the nesting has occurred, this is how we try to, this is human intervention to help save wildlife. Once the nesting has occurred, the eggs are there, we retrieve them and put them in our incubator to help the numbers, as it were, to increase the potential of a successful hatching.
Yeah.
If they're left there, even predators, a mongoose can come and eat it, possibly a manitou could come and eat it, other animals can come in there and eat it. But when we take them, we protect them and give them that safe zone for the next 3 months or so they can develop and hopefully hatch. This way now we can get more turtles and hopefully more turtles in the wild. Problem with the turtles in the wild, when people come across them, they pick them up and they take them home. I've had to tell quite a few people to just go back and put it back. It wasn't lost, it wasn't somebody's pet, he's in the wild and he's doing his wild thing. And there's some areas where they sort of concentrate. So some people get in there sometimes and take all of them out of those areas. That is quite a sad, sad situation. As the place gets drier and they've sort of found a mud pool, a little water hole, so sometimes you find 20, 30 turtles there. And some unscrupulous people will go into that area there and take all the turtles from there. And that is just sad. just sad and illegal. You need a permit to keep these animals as pets. You don't have a permit, you're doing something wrong. Just remember that. Okay? So is it worth the $2,000 fine?
No.
Probably put the animals back.
Be. So where can somebody find a permit? How can
permit? Well, you don't find a permit.
No,
you have
sorry,
to apply for a permit
get a permit
with through the Ministry of Agriculture Forestry Division. You have Long Circular, you have San Grande, you have St. Joseph, you have Pleasantville. There are different areas where you have to apply for your permit.
Yeah.
But I would encourage people to put them back where you found them.
Yeah.
I know sometimes you find them in strange places behind your house and they're walking and so on. Just remember, before your house was there was probably some forest and some bush, a little swamp or ravine there. And these turtles are just kind of coming back, being drawn back into the same areas and so on like that.
Yeah.
Or in the dry season, the drier season, you have bushfires that destroy their natural environment. So they sort of flee the flames and the smoke and end up sometimes on the road and the roadside and so on. You know, I would like to reach a point where now every year we're releasing hundreds of these, and I believe when we move to a new facility, we will be able to ramp up production, as it were, to be able to get really great numbers. And now we have to find secure, protected areas to put them. And now the people doing their hiking and so on have to instruct their clientele not to touch, not to remove, not to harm any of the wildlife that are out there. And so now many more people get a chance to hike and see turtles by a ravine or a river or some water source or just some area in Trinidad. And that will be an amazing experience to be able to see that there, see them naturally in the wild that way.
Mr. Mead, one of the guys in the back asked if it's a Morocco.
Asked about a what?
A Morocco.
A Morocco.
Yeah.
I do not like to use that term.
Okay.
It's another one of our misnomers. In Trinidad, we are very comfortable with what they tell us or what they see. So this is actually a Morocco.
Okay.
This is actually what a Morocco is. Very few people know that. Very few people use that term to apply to this animal. Any turtle is a Morocco. Some lady even told me one time, it have a sea Morocco. I said, a sea Morocco? She said, I said, that's a Morocco that you see? She said, no, the Morocco just come from the sea. I said, that's a turtle, man. A Morocco is a red-footed. Okay, it's usually the red-footed, but the yellow-footed has fallen into that category. We don't allow that because they're tortoise. A Morocco is a tortoise. Red-footed or yellow-footed tortoise.
Right.
But we have the scorpion mud turtle. They call that Morocco too. We have the Trinidad wood turtle, or the gallop. They call that Morocco too. And now, the most invasive animal is the red air slider that's found all over Trinidad now. That is also called a Morocco. So who is the real McCoy or Morocco? This guy, the red-footed tortoise. This is the real McCoy, the real Morocco. Okay? But we get things all mixed up and messed up, and many people are not too keen on accuracy when they speak or present information. I try to do my very best, and I can always say I stand corrected with just about anything that I say, okay, because there are always developments. With wildlife, it's a dynamic field. Today, it's X, tomorrow it could be Y. Okay? But what I try to give you as the most up-to-date, pertinent, and accurate information possible with regard to each animal species.
Yeah.
And besides what you might be able to Google and AI, a lot of the animals that I deal with or dealt with, I've had more than 4 decades of experience dealing with them at some level or the other. And then more intensively in the past 2 decades, intensive experience with some of them on the rehab level, pertaining to their housing, their nutrition, their diet, their natural behavior in the wild. This is what I must know all the time to be able to provide proper care for these animals. So it's not just a read a story or hear article, this is what to say. A lot of it is very practical, on the ground, getting bite, getting pooped on, getting scraped on, and having to clean these animals and nurture them back to health.
Yeah.
So there's a little difference between just Googling it and having to live it. We live it all the time.
Understood. Well, Mr. Mead, we do have to wrap because we're officially into Sean Michael Small's time. Talking Point is coming up next. So one last goodbye to our little friend there, the red-footed tortoise or Moroccoy.
Yep. Yeah, we understand time is against us, so we have to run off. And we will do that to the best of our ability.
Very slowly.
All right. Once we beat the rabbit, that's all that matters to us. But our problem today is going to be beating that traffic into Port of Spain. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Oh yes.
Wish me luck, folks. Thank you everybody for tuning in, for loving, for following, for commenting. Thank you, Naomi. Wonderful, 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 wonderful.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Mito, on always making the effort to still be here.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so that brings AM Prime to a close this morning. I will leave you with this. The only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today. That is a quote by Franklin Roosevelt. So think, ponder on it, and do stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay inspired, stay informed, and do not go very far because Talking Point is up next. I'll see you back here again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
WESN